From the headquarters of Fight Back Media, The Morning Report, with your host, Willie Lawson. Well, good morning. My name is Will Lawson. This is The Morning Report. The Morning Report is a production of FightBackMedia.com, 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 and FightBackMediaTV.com. Plus, that you are well today. It's 83 degrees here and mostly cloudy. I think it was even raining a moment ago here in Central Florida. Yeah, lots to get to today for sure. Lots to get to today. So we're going to go ahead and do that. I put up a monologue on YouTube and on Rumble. If y'all check that out, I think that'll be cool. Maybe that's something that we could add to the mix. One more thing to add to the mix. We're just trying to get word out there of things that we believe are important. And if you've got something that you think is important that we should talk about, and we can talk about in a way that we talk about, just send us an email at fightbackmedia@gmail.com. Paul and I at fightbackmedia@gmail.com. One of us is probably better suited to talk about the topic than the other, and we'll make that decision. So it'll either be me or it'll be Paul Swanson of the SwansonReport.locals.com, the SwansonReport.locals.com. All right, get let's get it started. Yeah, let's get it started. All right. We were freaking out last month about the inflation rate. The inflation rate last month was 9.1%. So today we're going to talk a little bit about the produce price index. That measures inflation costs upstream from consumers. What's coming? Now the good news is that edged down about 0.5% from June to July, hitting at a 9.8% rate in the last 12 months. The report showed that gas prices coming down from their all-time highs reached earlier this summer helped ease the top line number. I think it's funny that people are going, well, gas prices are headed down. They are. They saved you 20 cents a gallon, which is appreciable. I'm not sneezing at 20 cents because I got to go out and get gas today. So yeah, I'm thrilled. I am thrilled that I'm not paying $5 a gallon for regular gasoline. I am over the moon. I am. But I'm not, I'm not stupid in the sense, like, I know that these gas prices should be $2 less or $1.50 less than what they are. Maybe not two in my area, but $1.50 less than what they actually are. I'm also remembering that not too long ago they were $1.50 less. But anyway, the core PPI number, that's the produce price index, hit 7.6% year over year for July. For July's read, a key metric that the Fed considers in its interest rate decisions. I think the Fed uses a Ouija board. I do. For all sorts of reasons. I would not be surprised if you were to get a camera in there to see what the Fed was doing, and they had a Ouija board. And that's what I think about the Fed. The Federal Reserve, that's what I think about that. So mirroring Wednesday's consumer price index release, a 9% drop in prices for the final demand energy was the main driver for the month-over-month decrease. Gas prices were the main driver for the decrease. But many of the other items and services needed for producers to manufacture and to get their goods to market continue to increase in July. Yes, gas prices are down because that, and there's a reason, because that, and the administration is going to push that, because that's something that everybody can see. They're driving down the road and they see those numbers drop. And what that's supposed to do, that's supposed to give you a feeling like, oh, it's gonna be okay. That's why I said it's good news, air quotes, good news. The PPI reported that prices for processed goods for intermediate demand increased 17.4%. Industrial chemical costs, 1.9% more. The commercial electric power and beef and veal also rose higher. So that hamburger helper just became more expensive. What happens if you use chopped veal and hamburger helper? Anybody have tried that? Um, be really expensive hamburger helper, right? In terms of unprocessed goods for intermediate demand, cheaper fuel led to a month-over-month drop, but over the last 12 months, again, month to month, it went down. But if we look over the past year or 12 months, that index advanced 27.5%. Things are more expensive and getting more expensive. The still high inflation seems seen in the PPI means that the consumer prices won't be falling off yet. Even as AAA reports that Americans have begun reducing their trips and stops at the gas pumps in response to the burden of high cost and the recession have placed on them. While these prices trend lower, people are still like, I don't know. I want to save some money. We're not driving as much. So it's going to be interesting to see around Thanksgiving if people decide there's going to fill up the Dodge and head and see grandma. I hope they do, because family is all we have. So I hope they do, but it had to be seen. As long as producers are paying more, those costs will continue to be passed on to consumers. That is the truth. While this week seemingly positive consumer and producer inflation reports that suggest relief from high prices, the dips from previous reports are also solely due to declining fuel prices, pushed further down by American consumers displaying recession fears while bracing. Everybody's just sort of hanging on for more economic hardship. Apart from fuel cost reductions, many other items remain on the upward cost trajectory due to inflation, but the inconvenient data has been ignored by the White House. President Biden declared victory on Wednesday, of course, for zero inflation in July's consumer index read. Congress is pressing ahead with a falsely named Inflation Reduction Act. The Democrats are sure to use July's data to justify additional spending proposals. You can spend money and inject more money into the system and not have these be inflated. You can put more in, and the Federal Reserve, however, is unlikely to take the bait, as Biden and his party's lawmakers have determined what to do with interest rates next month. They're going to rise. I mean, they're going to raise them after a multiple 75 basis point increase earlier this summer. The Fed could hike their key rate again, or they could try to back off slightly to a 50 bias point increase to try lifting the damage to the overall U.S. economy, even though a recession has already started negative GDP growth for the first 2 quarters of 2022. Alfred Ortiz, who's the president of Job Creators Network, called this week's price index reports just the latest evidence that Biden inflation isn't going away, and slammed the Democrats for moving ahead with plans to pass the $760 billion spending bill tomorrow. I mean, that will make inflation even worse. The Democrats have created a political burden for themselves, but the financial burden is going to be paid for by American families and small business community in particular. Ortiz added the results coming from President Biden's Build Back Better agenda. Absolute travesty. Absolute travesty. All right, we're going to take a little break. We'll be back with the program right after these messages. All right, let's get with it. Hang on a second here. There you go. Let's get with it. Let's get with it and see what is on the docket continues to be on the docket today. We talked a little about inflation. Um, Monday of course what is the way to put that? The raid on Trump's home in Mar-a-Lago. Eric Trump was there apparently, and or at least is revealing some details about the FBI's raid at Mar-a-Lago. Trump told the Daily Mail that the FBI refused to hand over the search warrant for their raid on the Florida residence. Now, I'm really not sure. I don't know why you wouldn't say we have a search warrant and just hand it to somebody, because the search warrant, if somebody, if the popo came to your house and they had a search warrant, and they said that we're going to look through your house, and we have right to, because a judge said, hey, there's probable cause, or there might be drugs there, or there might be alcohol, or you might be hiding somebody, blah 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 blah, blah, whatever, whatever. The search warrant has the parameters by which they can search for stuff. So if they're looking for drugs and they find something else, then they have to get another search warrant, or they think there's something else, they have to get another search warrant, which a lot of times they can do over the phone, and it happens. That's just how it is. But apparently they didn't want to hand the search warrant over. He also recalled that there would be about 30 FBI agents. I'm not sure. When people show up like that, I think they show up as a show, that many people, as a show of force. A show of force meant to intimidate. What do you think? In my opinion. So they show up and they kick his attorney off the property. So I'm not really sure why a law enforcement agency is there and will not let you have legal representation at that point, unless they were planning on arresting somebody. I don't know. So they show up. So they show it to her. They show the search warrant to her from about 10 feet away. They would not give her a copy of the warrant. They wouldn't show it to her. They're 10 feet away, and they're showing her this piece of paper. There's like 30 agents there. They told our lawyer, you have to leave the property right now. Here's something else. Turn off all security cameras. Huh? Well, in a house, like Trump has in Mar-a-Lago, there's security cameras everywhere, right? Everywhere. Turn off all security cameras. So the FBI wants to be able to rummage around this property unabated, with absolute impunity, with no accountability. He said the former president's attorney, Christina Bobb, was forced to stand at the end of the Mar-a-Lago driveway during the raid. Calling the event another, quote, coordinated attack on his father, Trump said Bob was confused why a lawyer for a person's home being raided by the FBI was not able to see or obtain a copy of the search warrant at the time of the search. Now, can she? No, I know that somebody on the left has said, and he can find that thing to anyone. Yeah. But at the time of the search, when it is convenient, well, it seems super convenient to everybody involved, including the FBI, that the attorney for the person is there and can see the search warrant and see right then what the parameters of the warrant are. That's the question. Seeing what the parameters of the search were after the search is useless. It's useless. Of course, Eric said, I don't even know if it really exists. Well, I'm pretty sure it would have. It would have. You just look for it later. But you want to know what they have right to search. And especially how more convenient would it have been to have your attorney? Now, if you are participating in some nefarious activities for some reason, and Popo shows up at your house, and your attorney happens to be there, that's a good thing. They show up with a search warrant. That attorney is going to want to see that search warrant, and I would think that most law enforcement agencies. Now, if this is not true, please comment below. If you are in law enforcement, if what I'm saying isn't true, please hit me on what's true. Um, and I'm sure every municipality and every jurisdiction is probably a little different. But it would seem to me that law enforcement would be happy to show your attorney, hey, listen, this is what we have. This is a search warrant, and this is what we have right to search. Now, I'm not sure if they would ask you to turn off your security camera. Because if you're going to execute the warrant in a reasonable and professional and ethical way, who cares if people see it, right? Just saying. She says once she was able to see the warrant, it was partially sealed, which made it impossible for her to read why the judge granted the raid on the property. Initially, they refused and said, we don't have to show it to you. And there was a little bit of an exchange about whether it was appropriate to withhold the warrant when you're searching a resident of the former president who's likely to be a Republican nominee the next election, though they conceded and let me see it. They did not give me a copy of it right away, but they did let me see it, Bob said. Additionally, Trump insisted that there was no way that President Joe Biden was clueless about the raid, despite what the White House is claiming. This comes as the Department of Justice is facing calls to explain why they searched the grounds in Mar-a-Lago. Both Republicans and Democrats are calling the raid illegal and abuse of power. And when we talked about that a little bit yesterday, we'll see, won't we? It is my thought, and you guys can correct me in the comments if you think I'm off base, that I got information from my friend Chris Hall that that Trump was, being accused of a similar breach in U.S. code as Hillary Clinton, in the 30,000 emails. But we'll see. We'll see. And you know what? And the fact is that at this point, there's really not much else any of us can do. And that's really the truth. That's the hard truth about this. The hard truth about this is there's not really much any of us can do. Super frustrating, angering. It seems political. You talked yesterday even that Tulsi Gabbard and Andrew Yang both said that it seemed political. Hell, even Andrew Cuomo says that if they're not careful, it seems ridiculously um, ridiculously political and could damage the J6 investigations. So when even somebody like Andrew Cuomo comes out and goes, might not should have done that, right? But Andrew Cuomo says that. You got to wonder. And I think that we have to be in a position. We should always be in a position where we should be able to ask questions. We should be able to ask questions always, always. Even the Washington Post had some interesting, an interesting take on the whole nine, right? And some people on the left just lost their mind, right? Washington Post tweeted, Garland vowed to depoliticize justice. Then the FBI searched Mar-a-Lago. Wow. And people just got mad. Dear dumbass WaPo headline. Um, because it's about folks. And if anybody's upset about this, if YouTube gets mad about this, it's about agenda. Because all I've done, all a lot of us have done is ask questions. Excuse me, we're in the back of the classroom. Excuse us, pardon me. I got a question. And people like James Gleek and Soledad O'Brien, goodness, anyway, Claude Taylor. This is outrageous. uh, you know, Charlotte Clymer, who has a Ukrainian transgender blue check, right? Democracy dies in sloppy journalism. All they did was ask a question. It seemed like, wait a minute. Garland said that he was going to depoliticize justice, and then the FBI searched Mar-a-Lago. That smacks even of the Washington Post of politics. Sorry. Sorry. Rachel Vinman, another sunflower blue check. I don't mind paying for my subscription, even if I disagree with some of your opinions you publish, but this is moronic and disingenuous. Really? Before the Post took down the tweet and altered the headline, the original read, Garland vowed to depoliticize justice, then the FBI searched Mar-a-Lago. Where's the lie? You people just lost their mind because it seemed like not everybody was on board with their delusion. Speaking of delusional, Elian Omar, nearly this is why I'm telling you, we must continue to use what's left of our system, and we have to use it in the primaries. Now, for a lot of us, the primaries have already gotten by you, and you may have missed an opportunity. Minneapolis City Councilman Don Samuels has a message for Representative Elian Omar, Democrat from Minnesota, who barely defeated him in Tuesday's primary election in Minnesota. To come this close, um, means that we have our fingers on the pulse of an exhausted majority. Samuels told his crowd of supporters, "We know what America wants. We know that America wants change." Ilhan Omar defeated Samuels 50.3% to 48.2%. Okay. Uh, Omar, who represents Minneapolis, is one of the left's leading voices in Congress, has defended calls to redirect public safety funds more into community-based programs. She squared off with former city councilman Don Samuels, whose North Minneapolis base suffers from more violent crime than any other part of the city. Samuels argued that Omar is divisive and helped defeat a ballot question last year that sought to replace the police department with a new public safety unit. He and others also successfully sued the city to force it to meet minimum police staffing levels called in the Minneapolis Charter. Samuels now said his narrow loss shows that Omar is beatable. If this was the general election, no doubt we would have won this race, Omar countered. Tonight's victory is testament to how much our district believes in the collective values that we are fighting for. What she was right about, if this was a, I don't know, general election, they probably would have won. But this is when it happens. It happens in the primaries. If you're going to make a change, that change does not happen in the general election. Well, because a lot of times you get voters who are the slate voters in the general election. D. What the hell's an I? I don't know what that is. D. There's an S here. I don't know what an S. Oh, what's that mean? I don't know. D. I'm just looking for the D's. They're not looking for names. They're looking for party affiliation. And you get a lot of that, and you get an awful lot of that on both sides. I was just picking on the D's for a second. You get a lot of that in general elections. So the idea is that if you're going to use people who are informed voters, the informed voters for the most part are the people who vote in the primaries. That's where you can make changes. Samuel says, my only hope is that my opponent will have learned a lesson from this. You cannot give poor constituent service. Put your own dreams above the dreams and visions and desires of your community. Hold scant and scarce town hall meetings, not be available to the press that serves your community. And get reelected easily. Boy, oh boy, there's probably a lot of Democrat representatives around the country that need to hear that. You can't give poor constituent service. Put your own dreams above the dreams and visions and desires of your community. Hold scant and scarce town hall meetings, not be available to the press that serves your community, and get reelected easily. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to copy that. Oops, I'm going to try to copy it. Got a great new computer, but the mouse, I think there's something wrong with the cable. The mouse bites. I'm going to copy that. I'm going to put that on my Facebook page. And I wonder, and again, people, I'm going to let people comment. And it's going to be interesting because they're going to think I'm talking about my own US rep. But this is a message that a lot of them could hear. All right. We got to get out of here. Got to get out of here and make room for somebody else. Thank you ever so much for spending some time with us. Again, my name is William Lawson. This has been the Morning Report. The Morning Report is a production of fightbackmedia.com, 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 and fightbackmediatv.com. You can check out Fightback Media all over the internet, on Facebook, on Instagram, on Twitter, at RBM Show, on TikTok at Fightback Media, and don't forget my friend Paul Swanson at the Swanson Report.locals.com. Check it out. It's the best thing ever. All right. Until we see you again, go out there and learn something, love somebody. And for goodness sakes, and I mean it from the bottom of my heart, take care of yourself. We will see you when we see you. Bye-bye now.